our final point of discussion. Speaking of craziness that makes little to no sense but is still very enjoyable. I the movie I recommended Emily was I'm gonna butcher the title of this because it's French and I just cannot speak French. It is produced by Cine Art and Gebecca Films. A Town Called Panic, which is another animated movie released in 2009, apparently based on a television series or a web series of the same name. Uh, and I don't even really know how to summarize the plot. Actually, one thing I should say going forward is that originally our scheduling got kind of screwed up. Originally, when I had said that we would have Emily on, I recommended a movie called The Secret of Kells, which is a fantastic movie I think you should check out. But
Definitely agree with that.
I
I
ended
had
up.
seen that movie previously.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, but I ended up deciding to recommend something else because the more I thought about it, I was like, like the Brave and the Secret of Kells. I mean, the Secret of Kells is Irish, Brave is Scottish, but they are very very similar, and I didn't want us to kind of be rehashing the same points, so I went back and decided to recommend something completely different, which is why we have A Town Called Panic. So, the plot of A Town Called Panic is basically the life and times of three roommates, cowboy, Indian, and horse, and all of the shenanigans and craziness that they get into. So I'm curious to hear what you thought of A Town Called Panic.
Good God. I watched it last night just so I would have it fresh in my mind for when we did this. And let me tell you something, that could go one of two ways. I thought it was very amusing, but it's one of those movies that I think would be 10 times better if you were intoxicated.
Yep, yeah, I can vouch for that. But it's still, yeah, it's a very crazy wild experience. There's a clip on YouTube that anytime they're like, "Oh, what are some good animated movies?" and I say A Town Called Panic, they're like, "Oh, what's that?" I pull up the clip of Steven eating his toast and drinking his coffee in the morning, and I
Oh
show
my God.
and I show that to them, and I go, "This is A Town Called Panic," and this is one of the less crazy scenes. Because by the time that happens, you don't even think about the weirdness. You're like, okay, yep, nope, that's normal. But it's just a crazy. One other way I heard it described was it's essentially ADHD the movie. there's uh there's always something happening. There's always some sort of craziness going on. Uh, there's always someone yelling. Always a loud noise happening. But I think it's very it's like you said. It is definitely something that you would enjoy more if you're intoxicated. But I do like that it's a movie that you can just shut your brain off. I mean, aside from reading the subtitles, but you can just shut your brain off and still appreciate every single second of it.
It's definitely entertaining. I made Megan, once again, for those kind of coming in now, is my spouse. I made her watch it with me, and as we were getting ready for bed last night, she went to turn off the light, and she goes, "Plug in the fish," and then proceeded to shut the light off. So that is a new catchphrase for sure. They plug in a swordfish to use as a cutting device for anybody that wants to know why that's extremely funny. Because, swordfish definitely need to be plugged in.
There's just so many moments in that movie I love. It's like you said. There's quotable lines. I mean, not verbatim because I'm not gonna try and speak a lick of French and butcher any of it. But I love the one that I find myself saying to myself a lot is the coffee was delicious, and then slam the mug down or something, or I always I wish that there was a gifable moment of when Madame, what's her name? Madame Lingerie or Longray or whatever, however you say her name, when she brings in Horse and she's like, "Here, show me how you play the piano." And he just bangs on it frenetically and it's like, "How's that?" And she goes, "Well, that was terrible." I wish that was
Definitely love that.
I wish that was a gif. But yeah, it's a stop motion jerky kind of like it's all like weird low budget animated movie that is just pure unadulterated craziness, and I love it for that
Yeah.
very reason.
Well, and I got super excited in the beginning because I thought it was the animation style switches.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts off with like the hand-drawn animation, and then the next thing you see is those plastic characters that you get in those buckets of like farm animals
Right.
and all of that. And they're fighting over the shower, except Horse, who gets his own bath. And just that as an opening is completely out there. You were expecting it to be hand-drawn, and now you've got almost like a claymation effect
Mm-hmm.
with some of the way that it's done. I'm actually kind of curious on how they were able to produce that with like the movements and stuff.
It probably is just like a lot of the same, because it's not really fluid, so it is probably like a lot of like just the same sort of like character model, like printed or molded into a bunch of different positions, and then they just swap out the entire figure whenever they want a piece of movement, if I had to guess. But it is like
Yeah.
strangely articulated, like it's like you said, it's toys that you get out of like those like buckets of farm animals or whatever. Everyone has like that little like flat like grassy like plank or whatever that like goes between their feet whenever you get toys like that, so they can stand up. And even down to like the animation, like sometimes that'll disappear, or like they'll put a leg up and it'll get smaller and like in a weirdly like fluid way. So it is kind of like it's very kind of it's not very involved stop motion, but it is like there is some thought going into it, and I like that. But I also I have to say I like that you started off your summary with you were kind of or not confused, but like it was strange to see it go from the 2D to the 3D animation. And I was gonna say I think that is just a testament to the movie that it's at that, and you're the way that you've processed it at this point, that you aren't starting that off by saying, I thought it was weird that there's a cowboy and an Indian and they're roommates with a horse, and the horse has to go pick up all the other animals from music school because it's his birthday and no one else can find out.
I think it's just funny that Horse is basically Cowboy and Indian's dad. Cowboy and Indian are just such children. They share a room together. They literally to go plan Horse's birthday present, because of course they forget like children do. They're like, oh, we're gonna go tidy up our room and like sulk up the stairs. And it's like, yep, definitely a role reversal right there on the horse is now basically the parental figure for these two children.
Exactly.
And they're not children.
They're full-grown adults. Oh my god! I guess we'll get into spoiler. I mean, like, there's not really like everything about this movie is kind of disjointed and just like kind of happens almost for the sake of randomness. But if you do care about spoilers for A Town Called Panic, you should definitely check it out. I believe it's available on Amazon Prime. I think you can rent it on most other streaming services, maybe YouTube. It's not on Netflix. I don't think it's on Hulu, but yeah, definitely it's free on Prime. That's how I watched it. I also own a DVD of it. And I also think if you see this movie and you just can't get enough of the characters, a lot of the individual like episodes and sketches or whatever from the web series or television series or whatever that this is based on are also available on YouTube. So yeah, you should definitely go check those out. But one thing that I feel like you can say about this that you can't really say about most other animated movies is that you have like no idea where it's going at any given time, and I love that.
Absolutely no clue the entire time we're sitting there, and it's like, what's happening now? What's up next? Oh, a giant penguin in the middle of nowhere with snowballs. All right, guys, let's go.
Oh my god! It just like it starts off crazy, and it just says, okay, now how can we make this crazier? And it always like exponentially increases.
And ends on an even crazier note with fireworks.
Exactly.
Legitimately, guys.
Oh my god, it is kind of like like I said to the whole like to the point of it, like you can just kind of shut your brain off. It is like that is, I think, the strongest quality of the movie is that like you can just sort of like relax and not really think too much about it and just kind of bask in how crazy it is. But it is kind of like strange that like not like strange, but it is funny to like be like, I want these characters to succeed, and then when you step back and you're like, I'm rooting for a horse, a cowboy, an Indian to go into an underground dimension and steal back a house from these weird fish people while also escaping the clutches of scientists who are trying to design the perfect snowball throwing machine. It's just it like really kind of is like, are you sure you still want to stick with this? Are you can you handle how crazy we're about to get?
It's one of those movies that now that I've watched it and I know what's going to happen, the next time I have a group of friends over, and I have several in mind, I want to show them this movie just to see their reactions, not even to watch the movie again, just to watch their faces, because if they're as priceless as Megan and I's were last night, that's going to be more entertaining than rewatching the movie.
That I can definitely guarantee you. And I will say that is kind of like one of the drawbacks is that the repeat value is not that high. Like once you kind of know what it's doing, it like it is a little bit harder to enjoy it on repeated viewings, but like you said, if you can expose new people to it, which for one, I'm really glad that you were able to watch it and that you were able to bask in how crazy it was. But it's definitely it's one of those movies where that you kind of the joy you get out of it is like is passing it on to the next person.
Yeah, I definitely have a list of friends that are going to be subjected to it, especially since it is free on Amazon Prime. And the series, the web series that you were talking about is also available for purchase on Prime, because I accidentally almost purchased that last night.
Accidentally. I think that you were just that excited to continue the adventures of cowboy, Indian, and horse.
Yeah, just to see if horse actually beats the crap out of Indian and cowboy, because they deserve it.
Yeah, A Town Called... I'm not sure what else I can really say about it but without kind of ruining all the gags, but if anyone out there has not seen A Town Called Panic, you should definitely go watch it. You don't if you have Amazon Prime, you have no excuse. See it however you want. If you want to just put it on by yourself and get lost in how insane it is, or if you do want to have a bunch of friends over and watch them all lose their minds. That's actually one of my favorite clips I think I have saved on my Snapchat. Is the first time I made all my friends show or watch it. Rather, it was the scene where the music school catches on fire and the astronaut guy comes in with the fire extinguisher. You can't even hear what's happening in the movie because everyone was just simultaneously laughing and like rolling on the floor and like clapping their hands so loudly as if you couldn't even tell what was going on. So if I can find that, if I still have that clip on my phone, I'll throw it up on the screen right now. But yeah, definitely check this movie out if you want a wild, crazy experience like no other.
Or if you just want a drinking game too, because that's one of those movies that makes the absolute perfect drinking game, as long as you're legally allowed to drink. I'll throw that in there because yay, social work.
Definitely, yeah.